All right, well, welcome to another episode of Campfire Nutrition by NutraSource and NutraStrong. We're delighted today to be joined by Alexis Collins, Director of Product and Brand Strategy at Stratum Nutrition. Alexis, so great to have you today.
Hi, Will. Nice to see you.
Yeah, for sure. So, I've been looking forward to this one amongst many, but this is really interesting to me because Stratum's in a really unique area and in a really exciting category, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first, before we get into the Stratum brand stuff, tell us a bit about yourself and your journey in the nutrition industry.
Sure. Okay. So my background my degrees are in medical science and nutrition. Started out in medical science, got my master's in it when I realized I didn't want to pursue becoming a doctor. And then went and did some laboratory work for a while. And I've always been very, very interested in food. I'm half Persian, so growing up, it was always, eat this, for your digestion, or have this if you want to sleep better. And it was always, a lot of food from a lot of people and, a lot of joy around it. So,
And did it work? Did it work for the ailments?
Yeah, sometimes. And then sometimes, it was not going to be eaten because I'm not a big fan of, let's say, cow's stomach or other, very unique foods that we don't exactly have in our United States diet here regularly. So my father's awesome, and he would, cook very traditional cultural foods. And there was a lot of, healing story behind them. And yeah, sometimes they'd work. And sometimes they just wouldn't get eaten because as a child, you're going to be like, no, Dad, no.
Sometimes they have placebo effect and the comfort factor helped, right?
Right. The warm milk before bed, when you can't sleep and that sort of thing. So yeah. So food was always definitely very present. And after getting my science degree, I figured I'd combine the two. And I looked to get a nutrition degree. And at the same time, I found a position with the new product development group in the industry. I had no prior experience, had just been working in a lab, but it seemed to be just a really good opportunity. So I came in just knowing vaguely about vitamins, like everybody else, that we market to. And it really just took off from there. And it's been a great fit for me since. This was almost 10 years ago. And I've stayed in the industry working in new product development, technical sales support, manufacturing, and now my current position with Stratum, which is a blend of new ingredient evaluation, product strategy, and creative direction with marketing.
Oh,
So
that's a great
yeah.
mix. Let's unpack this a little bit more. So,
Sure.
in terms of the product and brand, where you're doing the innovation and the marketing, how do you work that together? When is it more about the science and when is it more about the business development or sales?
Sure. So I would say, I was initially drawn to working with Stratum Nutrition. I mean, I've worked with them since I started in the industry because they were selling their ingredients to me. And they've always been a company that has had a lot of scientific substantiation behind their ingredients. So I would say, being the science nerd that I am, that marketing lets me, play on their team sometimes.
Mhm.
I would say that having the standard that Stratum Nutrition has, where we do require a lot of scientific substantiation, a lot of human clinical studies on our ingredients before we bring them to market, it makes the marketing easy. I think it's a lot harder when you don't have as much of a foundation to build upon for your ingredient strategy. So I'm able to look at the science of an ingredient and to pull out what effects that I'm seeing in the scientific research that would appeal to the end consumer. And then, since Stratum Nutrition doesn't sell to the end consumer, we sell to brands. I can take that message and offer it to brands and say, here's what may be of interest to your end consumer. Here's what the science-backed claim could be that you'd really like. And then the fun part is putting the fun marketing spin and bringing some humor into it and just trying to, have it stand out from all of the rest of the ingredients in our space that, are also out there.
Yeah, and so what is some of that humor and fun? What was sort of most jovial marketing experience that you undertook so far in the journey?
Oh goodness. Well, the one that's standing out in my mind right now is that we brought on a new ingredient that is a postbiotic called L-Biome. And this ingredient, it actually has a really cool story behind it, just because it's been used for decades outside of the US and Canada, internationally used to help support both children and adults suffering with diarrhea. And so it just hasn't been in the US. So we brought it in as a new ingredient, and we've been selling it. And so we were thinking, okay, we really want to advertise to our brands that there's this ingredient out there. It's this postbiotic. It helps children with diarrhea. I was like, how are we going to convey this to our brands? So we do have an advertisement out there that says, has been helping parents, since the early 1900s. And there's this brown handprint that's just right there. This kid handprint. And I'm like, it could be paint, you never know. As a parent of two young kids, I've seen things, I've seen things that, if you're a parent and you're seeing that ad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So
Yeah,
anyways, that's the humor that we try to imbue into our marketing at Stratum Nutrition, where we're basing it all off of the scientific substantiation behind the ingredient, but we can't take ourselves too seriously. So.
Yeah, thanks for bringing back to my diaper changing days. I
Yeah,
appreciate
exactly. I'm telling you, we won't go there on your podcast, but yes.
Cool. And then technically and scientifically, what's sort of the process when there's always so many hot ingredients? You and I are on the trade show circuit, the conference circuit, and everyone's got the hot new ingredient they're trying to get going. How do you evaluate and then select? This is kind of the one where we want to focus on. And I know you guys are on the branded ingredient side, but how do you tease that up and tease that out, and take us through that journey and process somewhat?
Sure. So we do have a pretty rigorous new ingredient evaluation process that I put in place, but I couldn't get it done without our team of directors. So when I joined the Stratum team, I went to all of our team directors and I just said, when we're onboarding a new ingredient, what have been some of the hiccups and obstacles, and what do we need to evaluate before we bring it on? So with our company, it's really a team effort. We look at all opportunities that are brought to us, unless they're really far outside our scope, where we think that, upon initial regulatory review, that we wouldn't be able to substantiate the claims that are being, proposed, or it's just a risky category, right now that's being really closely looked at by the FDA or FTC, or, just something that we don't want to get involved in that way, because we are a pretty conservative company. Like I said, we require a lot of scientific substantiation to make claims on ingredients that we feel comfortable with. So that's definitely the first hurdle. And then we go through and we look at, from the operations side, supply for our customers. From the claim side, what can our customers say? Is there enough science to back that up? How does it fit in with current market trends? Do we see that category that ingredient fits in, growing? And then with Stratum, our portfolio, we don't have a lot of ingredients compared to some of our competition, because we really do excel in telling this scientific story behind ingredients, with ingredients that need a little bit more scientific education or explanation behind them. So we are kind of looking for an ingredient that has a niche spot within a bigger market trend. For instance, probiotics, we sell an oral colonizing probiotic, the Bliss probiotics. So that's just sort of an example of how there's this big trend of probiotics, but we have this kind of unique, oral colonizing 2 strains that we have.
Yeah, explain for the audience what oral colonizing
Yeah.
is.
Sure. I was going to say I might get a little too technical accidentally. So most people are familiar with probiotics as being good for your gut. You ingest the capsule of probiotics typically, and then they go into your gut and they colonize, meaning they set up shop, and that's how you get the good benefits from the probiotics. They start setting up shop and getting to work in there. So oral colonizing probiotics would be ones that you would With Bliss, you put a lozenge, we call it a lozenge, but some people might consider it a chewable tablet,
Okay.
and you put it in your mouth and you want to suck on it, just to allow the probiotics to have time to colonize your oral cavity. So you actually want the probiotics, your mouth is full of all sorts of bacteria.
Sure.
So the Bliss strains are strains that are beneficial to the oral microbiome and help, support immunity and support good dental and gum health after they colonize in the mouth.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then one of the other areas, when you talked about your portfolio and the focus, what is sort of the one or two key branded ingredients that really got Stratum launched and going, and it kind of is its backbone?
Sure. So, Stratum Nutrition, we manufacture some of our own ingredients. So we have what I refer to as our Eggshell portfolio,
Okay.
because that's how we got started. Those are our roots. The family that started Stratum Nutrition, the Osbornes, were in the egg business, and then they realized that there was a lot of eggshell waste that was just being completely unused and going into landfills. And so our current president's grandfather, I believe, looked at how that eggshell could actually be used. And so natural eggshell membrane was founded as an ingredient. And most people would recognize eggshell membrane as that really annoying part of the hard-boiled egg that you're trying to peel off. That's not the shell and it's not the egg.
Yes.
So yeah. So sometimes it's still stuck on there. Sometimes it won't come off and it can be a little rubbery. That's the eggshell membrane. And there's actually a lot of good stuff inside of eggshell membrane that is very supportive to joint health. And our company started doing human clinical trials on a proprietarily processed eggshell membrane called NEM, natural eggshell membrane. And we've got multiple human clinical trials now, and we've kept that going to where we've gotten to the point where we've earned some really strong Health Canada claims on NEM, where we've got, helps alleviate joint pain and stiffness and promote exercise recovery in as little as 1 day. So,
Super.
yeah.
And what, if you're allowed to share, what brands is this present in Canada, or what is like for consumers that they could look out for this stuff?
Oh my goodness. I honestly wouldn't be able to, to tell
Okay.
you.
Quite a few. All right.
That's outside my wheelhouse. So we'd have to bring our sales director in here to give you the list. But I know there are plenty. I just can't, for the life of me, pull a name right now.
No worries. But it's widely distributed, though.
It is. It
And
is.
people can seek out that claim.
Yes. They can, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then beyond Canada and the US, where else have you guys got traction in other countries, other regions, or starting to get traction?
Oh, I mean, we have international distributors that help us with NEM all across the globe. So Brazil is doing great, South Africa, Europe, some parts of Asia. So yeah, NEM is all over, and that actually gives us a little bit of a unique stance, I guess, for the ingredient partners that we work with in our distributed ingredient profile, because we're a company that manufactures our own ingredients, but we also sell ingredients that global ingredient partners make, and then we distribute, in the US and Canada. So we have our own experience with distributors for our manufactured ingredients, so we know what a good distributor does and what a not so good ingredient distributor does.
Okay.
So we do try to, do our best based on our own experience with distributing our ingredient internationally. So.
And with the eggshell membrane specifically, you talked about the international partners or network. The membrane itself, does it vary different types of laying hen species dramatically? Is that something you have to control for, the membrane itself, or is it fairly standardized?
No, we use only USDA certified eggs. So so it's all sourced from the US, and all under that certification. So that's really the standardization that we have.
So you're not doing like farmer co-ops in other countries and collecting.
No, 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 no.
Right, right.
It's all US, which gives us, a bit of an advantage selling into, internationally as well. Having the USDA certification is a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just wondered because oftentimes some brand ingredient companies they have their sort of core CMO, but then they have these pieces out there for the
Ah,
biomass of the material, but
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
centralized.
No, it's all centralized, yeah.
Where's the Stratum manufacturing facility?
In Carthage, Missouri.
Okay, and
Yeah, good.
where?
Go for it.
Next
Which
question.
everybody knows where Carthage, Missouri is.
Yeah,
So,
I figured it was there, but
yeah,
wh-
the
generally speaking,
heartland of America.
okay,
So yeah, yeah. No, so Carthage, Missouri is actually it's a neat small town in Missouri. I've visited multiple times. Our marketing manager has introduced me to some of the small businesses in Carthage. So I've been able to walk around and go, grab a cup of coffee and get lunch at some of the small businesses around there. So yeah,
so in terms of the egg operation itself, is it
yes,
these eggs coming in from
all over.
farmers all over the US? They have to
Hmm.
have the USDA
Hmm.
certification to it, but they're
Hmm.
coming in from all over the US?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, we have sources of eggshells that we are currently working with, that are preferred, but there's nothing stopping us from sourcing, all over the US.
got it.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to uh, collagen as a category, one that Stratum obviously has a big, strong presence in. Tell us a little bit about collagen and sort of the science behind collagen and how it's emerged as a category.
Sure, sure. So we do have an ingredient that we currently call eggshell membrane collagen support complex, just because it contains all of the essential amino acids that are needed to build collagen. So collagen is this unique protein that, if we're going traditional use here, collagen is found in large quantities in broth when you make it the traditional way, meaning you're getting marrow bones and the cartilage filled bones, and you're boiling all of that cartilage and bone together, and putting in some vinegar maybe to really leach some minerals out. But anyway, so the
Sounds like
collagen is
something your
coming.
dad would make.
Exactly, exactly. So I was going to say, going back to our earlier conversation of traditional Persian food, it is that it's been cooking on the stove all day and there's a bone in it that has a big joint attached to it type of broth. And that's where the collagen is going to be coming from, boiling down that bone joint, and it's been traditionally used just for overall health, but now people are using collagen to help support skin health, to help support their joint health, amongst other things. It's just a source of protein for some people that they prefer. So, yeah, so we do have an ingredient called eggshell membrane collagen support complex, which is a good adjunct to a lot of collagen powders out there. NEM is a great addition to any collagen powder out there just because of the 500 milligram daily dose that you need once daily, and you get a really strong substantiated joint claim with it.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, so that's, I don't have any specific collagen ingredient in our portfolio now, but we do have, NEM for joint health, and we certainly have our collagen support complex, for an additional egg-based, collagen type ingredient
Got it.
to add in. Yeah.
And then I've been hearing a bit more about vegan collagen sort of squeaking onto the scene. Do you have
Oh
any
yeah.
do you have any comments about vegan collagen? 'Cause
Can
it
I
seems
say no
a
comment?
very interesting proposition, but
I don't know what to say about vegan collagen, except that the only collagen sources I know of are animal based. So that would go against the vegan term in there. So I don't know. What have you seen like for vegan collagen? Like what is being, is it just a misnomer for a fish derived collagen, or what have you been seeing?
Well, I've just been seeing, plant-based or vegan collagen as an ingredient starting to kind of emerge a little bit and make the rounds. To
Okay.
me, it does seem somewhat counterintuitive.
I'm
I
wondering what
haven't
you're
drilled down
seeing.
into it. That's why we
Oh,
asking the
yeah.
experts.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sort of like, what have you been seeing? Because I'm curious. Because look, there's always
I've seen it
something
as an
new.
item in formulas and so forth. So I was curious as to that seems counterintuitive. So I thought maybe
Uh,
some more insights on that. But
no, it's fine. It's fine. My best guess is that it may be a misnomer. A company may be using an egg derived collagen ingredient, like deriving collagen from a eggshell membrane, perhaps. And they may be giving a misnomer of vegan to an ovo-vegetarian source
Mm.
of collagen. So, vegan is nothing. I mean, vegan, you can't even eat the honey that the bees make. Like that's how far away from an animal product you need to be. So, you
Yeah,
know,
but
yeah.
plant-based collagens just doesn't seem to be a thing.
Yeah, I don't again, like I'm not gonna say never, but it in because like there's always something coming out that's new, and I haven't looked at everything, but I'm gonna say that I have not seen that being possible yet
Mhm. Got it.
myself. I'd
And
love
then,
somebody to, yeah, contact me and show me the plant-based collagen, and I'll look into it further for sure.
okay. Uh, when it comes to the innovation and the journey and the process, you talked about the rigor that Stratum puts around the process of launching a brand ingredient. How many ingredients would you look at? Like, does it start out with 100 and you get to 10 and then you end up with two?
Oh
Or
my goodness.
how do you take that through? Are you getting stuff thrown at you almost every day and you're like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
okay, maybe. Like, how does that all work?
It's certainly picking up. I'm not going to lie. As we become more prominent in the industry, we get more opportunities presented to us. So we do have to go back to looking at what we as a company excel in, what our niche is. And that is ingredients that have a lot of scientific substantiation behind them, that can support strong claims that we're okay with our conservative regulatory stance. And then we prefer to be a little bit outside the commodity box. So if something is too popular, too commodity, it's just not going to be within our wheelhouse. So we really try to find something that can be standing out in its own aside, even if it's not right on the trend,
No, for
it's
sure.
okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things. If you're not, you have to be novel enough so that you can keep it special.
Yeah.
Else
Yeah.
it just gets commoditized, right?
Yep, exactly. And I mean, some companies do really, really well with that, but we're just, I guess, we're storytellers. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, anyways, but yes, there are many more coming in, and would I like the evaluation process to be faster? Yes. I usually preface everybody who comes to us with, this is going to take a lot longer than you'd probably like, but we'll get to it. So, you know.
Oh, for sure. And then what are some of the ones that, if you're able to share, what are some of the ones that you guys have just launched? You mentioned the postbiotic one, but what are some of the other ones that you're seeing into the future, if you're able to share that?
Sure, sure. So, definitely looking at ingredients that have claims that are well substantiated for anxiety and stress,
Mhm.
in younger populations specifically. So I think that we've had some marketing presentations given to us as a company, and just reading, what's trending in the industry and what's also trending in consumer articles, revolving around nutrition and health. It's really, I think that everybody's sort of seeking a bit more mental support these days, and whether it stems from, focusing on your sleep or focusing on your gut health, which controls a lot of your feel good hormones. releasing or something else. That's definitely an area that I'm currently looking at strongly, and have some candidates for. So that's for sure my primary focus right now. And then, not necessarily looking, like I said, for any sort of particular category, but always keeping an eye out for unique ingredients that have sort of a unique spin in a certain category. For instance, like mushrooms are a huge trend right now, right? But where's that mushroom with, the unique health category that no other mushroom is supporting right now? Because a lot of them are for cognitive performance or immunity. So, kind of looking at those areas as well. But then, some of our current ingredients, I just see huge potential for them in the future, like our vegan omega oil, ahi flower oil. I think it's almost ahead of its time. So, now everything is just, advertising free from. Like if you walked around at Expo West, it's like everything's plant-based and free from. And so I really think that ahi flower just is basically like the rocket that's poised to launch and sort of take over the plant-based category. That's a very strong ingredient. So it's not only looking for the new ones, but looking for if there's new opportunities for the current ones that are popping up.
Yeah, and you mentioned walking around Expo West and consumer trends in general. What are some of the, beyond more the ingredient specific areas you're looking into and you're excited about, what are some of the consumer trends you're seeing that are pushing your thinking, or that's pushing your thinking in your
Sure.
decision?
Sure. So we definitely know, and what we hear about customer demand comes from the brands that are selling to those customers, because the brands are our customers. So we know that a lot of brands have, stringent boundaries, like they do not want any allergens in there. Like I said, there's a lot of, I want it to be free from everything, no allergens, nothing, that, non-GMO, organic, vegan, like it's all, everybody wants that clean, sort of formula, I guess. So that's definitely a trend that we're trying to keep an eye out for as we evaluate ingredients, because we just know a lot of, I'm not saying that we have to have allergen-free ingredients, but we just know the obstacle that we're up against when we do have an allergen present, in an ingredient. And there are just some customers, some brands that we just have to write off as a no-go opportunity, just based on, that side. And then, like I said, mental health, stress, anxiety, that is just a huge trend everywhere, and multiple roots. I don't think there's really, any one cause that we can sort of focus on and provide, a remedy for. I think everybody's kind of dealing with, their own sources of mental stress and anxiety. So that's, a category that I think there could be multiple ingredients that could be effective in that category. So that's definitely a consumer trend. Also, just acknowledging that women really do buy the majority of supplements, so having female focused ingredients, and the brands that are female focused are real, some of them have really taken off so well because they are catering to that demographic that is buying the supplements. So I think having female focused ingredients with female specific research is definitely a trend that I can see taking off. Already has.
Yeah, for sure. We're seeing that on the clinical side too, where just more diversity and representation in the clinical trial participant data.
Yeah.
It's definitely on trend, and it needs to be, because just from a straight representational standpoint, it's good to have the appropriate allocation of the claim tied to the positioning, tied to the clinical data. And the industry in Canada and the EU is a bit different, but in the US, oftentimes, I know when I first started out 20 years ago in this industry, the bibliographies, if you actually drilled down, looked in the papers, often were very far removed and in no way matched the product and formula that was being presented, or the claims it implied in or inferred it, supported, or said it substantial or was substantiated around. And in addition to that, oftentimes the dosing and other aspects and facets of how the product was positioned had nothing to do with the bibliography. If you just read the titles of the papers, boy, did they ever look good and sound impressive.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think industry's cleaned up a lot. At least the A players have really paid a lot of attention, such as yourselves, to put the effort in to clean that up, and that helps with the novelty and helps with the trust.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, like I've spoken about Stratum standards, but I have to say, our ingredient partners as well. It's so good to be with a partner that says this is the dose that the research supports. So this is what you have to offer to the brand to use in their formula. Like there's no, pick and choose. Like so, to your point, yeah, we do try to steer our customers to using the researched effective dose of ingredients.
Yeah, there's no, it works at a gram in the paper, but we're going to sell it at 100 milligrams
Yeah,
but
exactly.
still capture all the
Exactly.
science and hype around it.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. On the consumer side too, are you seeing specific interest from the brands in terms of the information you're supplying them around demographics at all? Like, are things changing from you based upon consumer pressure from Gen Z or millennials at all, and what they're expecting to see about the supply chain and the transparency around the supply chain?
I think having ingredients that have an environmental awareness story behind them is proving to be beneficial with some brands that are, focused more on a younger demographic, like a younger Gen Z demographic. Those brands seem to be doing more on their part with the packaging and just trying to be environmentally aware from how they're providing the actual ingredients to the end consumer, which is awesome. So providing stable ingredients that work in that packaging is definitely something that we try to do and provide and work with customers on that. And then the free from trend for sure is definitely for brands that are, trying to get the younger Gen Z demographic. But traceability, we've always tried to provide that. I don't know if I've seen a massive rise in traceability versus the environmental awareness component. I mean, they certainly go hand in hand. But just being able to say, like, for instance, NEM keeps out, this X many tons of waste from landfills everywhere. Like that's something that we market now and advertise versus, maybe even 2 years ago it wasn't even really on the radar much.
Yeah, and you mentioned women's representation in the dietary supplement industry, particularly in the US. Uh, how do you think, in terms of coming up with brand ingredients, how is that built into your thinking, and how do you support brands that want to focus things that way? And what are the things that you feel would appeal to the U.S. female consumer?
Well, since that's me.
Yeah,
So,
you'd be one of them.
yeah, exactly. I was going to say I'm definitely a dietary supplement user. And let's see, it definitely starts with science. If there's an ingredient that has research supporting women in my age group, then that is definitely something that will draw my attention more. So that's why we had our latest sort of strategy, for NEM was really to focus on the women's specific exercise recovery that showed significant exercise recovery in postmenopausal women. The average age was 56 in that published clinical. So it's just cool to see that, I'm like, this is what normal people are doing, because it was people who didn't have any joint issues. They didn't have any previous complaints. It was a healthy population and they just weren't exercising. And then, New Year's comes around, or the NEM study comes around, and they start exercising. And those women that were taking NEM had a lot more comfort than the group that was not taking NEM and just kicking it up with, an aerobic exercise activity, all of a sudden. So It's stuff like that where it's really applicable to me, that I focus on. And then, it's on trend. The gummy has surpassed the capsule as a delivery format. It's just, it's just there. I don't take gummies, but I do appreciate being able to get a couple of different delivery formats with my dietary supplement regimen. Whether it's taking, omegas in an emulsion, or being able to mix something into a smoothie, or maybe have like a tea, powder with curcumin that I can mix into like a latte. Or collagen powders, protein powders, what have you. It's nice to be able to have a little bit of variability, just if you're, having a lot like I am. So having ingredients that work in different delivery formats and stay stable, like our postbiotic L-Biome, being able to get digestive health where probiotics can't go because it's inactivated, it's not a viable cell ingredient, so you can still get digestive health and benefits without having something refrigerated or just in a capsule. And then, ahi flower oil is very versatile, and we have that in a powder form as well. So you can get your vegan omegas, in a powder or an oil. And then NEM works in a powder or a capsule or even a gummy now. So it's, we do try to keep an eye out for that, as far as, focusing on the younger consumer, but female consumer too. So I'm trying to think about what else. As a mother, always looking for, kid-friendly delivery formats too. So I think when we're talking about, the female demographic, we do have to consider, the mothers out there too that want to, provide some supplementation for their kids. So whatever's easy,
Yeah, adult compliance is one thing. Kid compliance is a whole nother.
I'm telling you. Yeah, exactly. Yes. There are some that have been great successes, and some where I'm like, well, that $30 bottle of this supplement is just going to get totally wasted. I guess I'll try it, So yeah. Kids are the choosiest consumers. So
Yes. But if they love it, then you also know you probably have a winner.
yes, and there have definitely been some winners. So for sure, like the Bliss probiotic that we sell. I mean, I was giving that to my kids even before I worked with Stratum, and we just call it after toothbrush candy. And I mean, of course, your 2-year-old or 2.5-year-old's going to chew it instead of suck on it because they don't really get the concept yet. No, leave that in your mouth for a little while and let it, do its thing. But it's still getting in there, and some beats none. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Alexis, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and thanks for just some insights into your work and the whole product development, brand strategy side of the business, and some insights into Stratum as well, and all the things that you're working on. Really
Happy
appreciate
to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
some of these